I'm looking forward to hearing from you, Helen. All of every time I listen to you speak, there's something that makes me laugh, and there's something that makes me take a sharp intake of breath as well, generally.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not having any swearing today, but you never know when that's going to come out. I thought about what I could talk about, and I thought, a lot of you don't know me very well as a person. You just know me as Helen Bower, Director of Adult Bookkeeping. So I thought I'd do a little bit about a little potted history of me, and then a snapshot of why I am so passionate about bookkeeping as a valuable service to businesses. And lastly, some of the key things that I've learned in the 4 years since, I thought I was going to transgendering. I keep reading articles about transgendering. I haven't transgendered. I'm not transgendering. I have transformed myself from a sole trader into a business owner with 7 employees. So firstly, a bit about me. So I just told you I'm 55. I know you can't believe it. It's really shocking. So you can pick when you pick yourselves up off the floor. I'm a Worcestershire lass, so I grew up in Kidderminster. Grew up in a very ordinary housing estate, very kind of ordinary, well-adjusted childhood. Nothing exceptional to say about that, except you might be amused to know that I was a punk when I was 15. So I did hang around with the gang. I was one of the gang. We were a gang of skinheads and punks. And when I was 15, I went to a Stiff Little Fingers concert. It was my first concert in Malvern, and I disappeared upstairs with a pair of scissors and cut most of my hair off into all little spiky tufts, much to my mother's horror. So I was a bit strange at school because I was one of the punky gang, and I had this big thick black eyeliner, and I smoked. I still smoke. It's the only hangover I've got left from those days. So I was at the top of the field with the gang of cool kids smoking with my Doc Martens on and my bondage trousers. But I was also a complete girly swat. So I was the only one in my family, without trying to sound like I'm boasting, to even get an O-level, let alone go to university. There were only 4 people that went to university out of my school. And I actually went to university in Sheffield, to a proper university, if I can say that, to do a degree in French and German. So I started out as a linguist. I did Russian as well for a year. Absolutely loved languages. So I did that for 4 years. Then I lived abroad for a gap year in a bar in France, where I learned a lot of more interesting French than I'd learned when I was doing 17th century French romantic poets. Anyway, I then decided it would be a really good idea to be a teacher. So because I love my subject, languages, and I do like children in small doses, and I'm quite interested in education, I thought I'd do teacher training. So I went back to Sheffield. My dad always said this was a kind of a secret ploy to really get me back to uni, and I suspect it probably was. But I found teaching really tough, so I'm very admiring of anyone that becomes a teacher. I did finish the training, but I didn't do it. I thought I'd have this kind of light bulb moment. So I was teaching languages to inner city schools in Sheffield, where a lot of the kids didn't even speak English, and I was given this, what was called the remedial group, you know, in the days when people had streaming, and they were completely uninterested. It was so hard. I was basically doing crowd control from home. And then I started to do this really exciting thing at Christmas of blockbusters. Who remembers blockbusters? I have a keyboard. So I created this whole game of blockbusters with these hexagons, and I did it all in French. So they had to get the answer in French, but I made it quite easy. And I saw all these kids light up. I saw them all putting their hands up. They all got competitive. It was really fantastic. And there was one boy in particular called Kevin. Sorry, Kevin, but he was a Kevin, but no offence. And you're or you're just mesmerised. Nobody's moved at all. Are you all still there? Yeah? Can you wave at me if you're still there?
Yeah, we're all here.
I don't know. That's just Charles Frozen. I thought you disappeared. Oh, Kevin was a real little git who made my life misery. And at the end of the lesson, he kind of sidled up to me. He was about 14, and he said, "You know that game, miss? in a Yorkshire accent, and I thought, this is it. I'm going to find out my vocation to be a teacher. He said, you know that game, miss it? What crap, miss? So I thought, right, it's obviously not a light bulb moment. We spent a long time talking about that anyway. I'm going to speed up a bit. So I left teaching, I worked in export and shipping, and I then had a baby, which was a bit of a miracle. And around the same time I had a baby, my husband started his own business. And I started doing his books, and I found I really, really liked it. So I did that on my own for 10 years, working from home. And as you know, I expanded 4 years ago because I was inspired, and it was the right time in my personal life to inspire. But I really think I'm very passionate about promoting bookkeeping as a profession. It's got a bit of a bad name. It's got a bit of a, I'm hoping things are changing, but there's still a perception that it's something people can just do on the side and that it's really easy. And there's a misconception of exactly what we do, that we're just adding up receipts and things like that. Bookkeeping is actually the first couple of years training that accountants do. And everything accountants do is based on the bookkeeping being good. If the bookkeeping is not spot on, the end of year and the tax won't be spot on. So I'm on a bit of a mission, and Kevin knows this. There's a difference. There's two things that we should be doing for customers. We should be doing the compliance, but we should also be providing people with the numbers they need to run their business properly. And you would not believe the amount of people that come to me that don't have a clue where they are. And I have my first initial chat, and I'll ask what their turnover is or their profit is, and they don't know. Some people haven't even been sure how many employees they've got. Or they don't know for ages, they don't know for a year, or they don't know for a quarter. And that's one of my bugbears, that they should be given real-time information. Another bugbear is that business owners aren't bookkeepers. And when you do it yourself, what you're doing is a little bit of it. The accountants are then filling in all the bits that you don't know about and charging you a lot of money for it. So you think you're doing your bookkeeping free all year, and then at the end of the year, the accountant's giving you a massive bill, and half of that is probably to correct the bookkeeping that you didn't know how to do in the first place. And that is true. So you can actually cut your accountant's bill down quite a lot if your bookkeeping's been done properly. So that's a couple of the reasons why I think it's really valuable. But I'm on a bit of a mission to try and get that across to people, and also the fact that it is not really easy. The mess that I've seen people make of their books is unbelievable. So that's a bit about that. So what have I learned since I've learned a lot of things since I've really changed as a person. Well, not really changed, the last 4 years since it was just me. I've really grown in confidence. I was never shy in retiring. You probably gathered from my bondage trousers punk days, but I wasn't as confident as I am now. I would do things for free. I would put up with things that I no longer put up with. I thought I had to convince the whole world that they needed bookkeeping, and some people is just not worth it. So I've really, and you can apply this to any business, think it's important to have the clients that you want to have. There are good and bad clients, and you can train some to become better clients, but some are just complete and utter, what should I say, Kevin? Can I say twats? I told you it would come out at some point. Told you I'd have Tourette's. You can't do it. So when I first expanded, I did classify by, sorry, Kevin, go on.
I'm just wondering what level of checks YouTube do then when I upload that, as to whether.
Oh, sorry, you might have to put a bead over me. Yeah, I'm a bit like Miriam Margolyes. You wait till I'm at the events dinner on the 25th.
I think it'd be all right as long as I don't try and say that it's made for kids. This video.
Yeah.
Be all right.
So classify your clients. Look at the ones that you think are bad. Is it because they don't collaborate? Is it because they're demanding? Is it because they've got the wrong expectations? Are they less profitable for you than other clients because of the way they run? And you don't have to work with them. So I get this a lot now. I go to conferences and I talk a lot in bookkeeping conferences. People that have just started out and they're doing things for free. and they're putting up with awful things. I had a lady at the conference a couple of weeks ago saying she was up all night not sleeping because this business was in such a mess, but she couldn't have them. They wouldn't listen, and they weren't worrying about it, but she was not sleeping at night. Life's too short, so I won't do that. I've got a lot tougher about not doing things for free, not taking on people that I don't want to take on. I'm turning away people quite a bit now if they're not the right type of person. So we've put a new onboarding process in. We've got a filter call now. And straight away, if they don't want to go in the cloud, they're not interested in the cloud, they're terrible with computers, and they want you to pick up or drop off a bag of paperwork, I'm just saying you're not for me. I was just taking that on. And there's probably equivalents of this with whatever industry it is, I think. So I keep talking about James Ashford, don't I, Kevin? I talked about James Ashford this morning. He's a motivational blogger and speaker and writer that I follow that looks after the accountancy profession. But he's got a great phrase called choose your hard. And I'm not being rude when I say that, Kevin. So choose your hard. So it is hard to have a really bad client that makes you not sleep at night or that isn't profitable. It is also hard to get rid of them. So choose your hard. So if you've got two options, and that can be anything, you've got to do A or you've got to do B, and there's something difficult in both of them, you choose it and do one of them. Don't do neither. Don't just sit on it. If something's difficult, sort it. So choose your hard. And there's not normally hard and easy. There's hard and hard. I think that's quite powerful. So when I look at things now, I'm thinking, what are the two scenarios? Which hard is worse? So I'm going to tackle that hard, if you like. Another big thing for me about going from just being myself to, and most people I'm sure who've gone from being just themselves to employees, is learning to trust other people and release control over things. And that's really, really hard because most bookkeepers are perfectionists. I'm a perfectionist. I want everything to be perfect. And when I started and I had a part-time labouring apprentice, I kept trying to still be in control of everything. So when I had 16 clients and I knew all their figures and back returns and deadlines in my head, I didn't have to, it was all literally in my head. I've got quite phenomenal memory without, again, it sounds like a bit of a boast, but I've been blessed with a phenomenal memory for numbers and all sorts of things. But even I, with 120 clients, can't be on control of all that. So having the right people that I can trust is absolutely key. And I've had some ups and downs with that. But most importantly, it is to have simple systems. Because if you've got the systems and people manage the systems and the system is good enough, it will do those checks for you. So every task and job and service is now broken down into elements and they're literally ticked off in a software system so they can't be missed. And they become overdue and they change colour and they do all sorts of things so that the software system I use, which is an accountancy specialist one, just puts the control in place that I can't do anymore. But so many people, and I hear it so many times, I'm the only one who can do it. I hear that a lot with business owners. I'm the only one that can do this. You probably aren't. You're not the only intelligent person in the universe that can do this job. There will be other people that can be trained to do it. And you have to trust them if you're going to grow. If you're going to try and micromanage everything, I think that's a huge thing that you've got to get past. And it's something that I hear and that I've had to get past. And I've actually changed completely. Instead of thinking, oh, I don't like it, I don't know what's happening. I'm like, well, someone volunteer for this? Yes, oh, brilliant. That's off my desk. Someone else has got it. So I'm actually love delegating now. It's brilliant if I can pass something on to somebody else. So that is something else I've learned. Something else I do a lot, which I've got better at, is listening to my team, because we did the disc profile thing with Kev, didn't we, a few weeks ago, and I'm a monkey. And I tend to jump in and I talk a lot. So I didn't even plan this talk. I can just talk. I do talk a lot. So what I need to learn is to listen. So good example of that, because I've got 3 monkeys. So I've got 2 jump up and down like me and get all excited. I've got an owl who is the most detailed person I've got, but also the not such a good team player as the others. She likes to keep sitting in a corner and being on her own. And I've got two dolphins who are I had a new client 3 or 4 months ago, and he's a nice man, but he's sending us absolutely nothing. He's got a brand new business. He doesn't have a clue what is happening. He's bought this business off somebody else. Customers are leaving him. Staff is leaving him. He is driving everyone round the twist, and he is not cooperating at all. He just says he's too busy all the time. So my owl actually was the lady who looked after him, and because she's the most extreme perfectionist I've got, even worse than me, it was driving her, actually making her stressed. So I called the team and I said, right, what are we going to do about this chap? Because my instinct is to get rid of him. And the two monkeys went, yeah, get rid of him. That's right. And one of the dolphins, who's actually my new guy, who's very mature for a 26-year-old, he went, does he understand why you want this stuff off him? We're like, yeah, we've emailed him. We've told him. We had a meeting with him at the beginning and we've emailed him and we've said we need this. And he said, I think you should actually phone him and have a conversation with him and explain it all and give him another chance before you just lop him off, you know. The annual culling, which I'm now going to have with my customers. So I listened and I said, you know what, I'm going to do what Tom just said. I'm going to have a conversation with him and pick the phone up, which actually went really well. And we've given him 4 weeks and he has promised to send everything. And I have said, if you don't, we are disengaging because we cannot do the job you're paying us to do. But I did listen. So that's something else. Don't presume that I've learned. Don't presume you know everything. I have got a sign above my desk which says people who think they know everything are a great annoyance to those of us that do. But I have realised that I don't know everything and I do need to listen to other people. So I will stop there. I haven't been too rude. If you want more time, I can just tell some dirty jokes, but I thought you might like to ask me some questions.
I think we'll that's brilliant, Helen. I think good time to ask some questions and then maybe you can get a dirty joke in as an answer to one of the questions. I don't know. Let's see. Go on, Doug. Doug, fire away.
I've got one about, it was a couple of things. One was a question, one's advice. You know, we use Xero and there's lots of softwares out there at the moment that you can use, and they do a lot of the bookkeeping elements for you because they're really organized stuff. What would you say? Obviously, we've got that at the moment, and we can do our own bookkeeping fairly organised. We're fairly organised, or Terry is. I'm not. The way we do things. But what would you say when you've got these softwares, and there are lots of other ones out there now? That where would you say a bookkeeper comes in now? How do you think that affects you, or does it add to your need?
Right.
Oh,
I think have we lost Helen?
There she's back. She's back.
Yeah, you
but
broke up.
I haven't never taken over a set of accounts from a business owner that's perfect. There's always stuff in the wrong place. So
Oh dear.
those understand a profit and loss. Not all, but most understand sales and expenses. Minus expenses equals profit. What not all business owners understand is what goes on the balance sheet. So we will find things in the profit and loss that should be on the balance sheet and vice versa. I have yet to find a business owner that knows how to put payroll journals in properly and reconcile them. So that's always wrong. It could be that you know that you're a better business owner than I've ever seen, that you're doing that.
Not the case.
Other thing is, yeah, well, tax and VAT change all the time. So how do you know that the tax right if you've never been trained in it or you've never done any up-to-date compliance? Because again, we see things that are wrong all the time when we take things over to a bit lesser or greater degree. Sometimes it's so bad I've actually few times I've had to actually ditch that Xero QuickBooks license and start them on a completely new one because what they've done is so awful. Sometimes you'll have done most of it, but you'll then pay the accountant to check it all. So you've got two choices here. So at the end of the year, if you've done it and you're not qualified in accountancy, so it may or may not be right, depending on how.
And Kevin was worried that my internet would be playing up.
Yeah. Okay. Helen, yeah, we lost you. I think you said there's two options, and then we lost you completely.
Does that help?
Well, let's see. Keep it off and keep it off for the minute, maybe, and then maybe answer the question again if you could.
Yeah. So if you've done your own bookkeeping and you may be better or worse at that, you're not going to know everything a qualified accountant knows, and where it needs to go in the chart of accounts. So at the end of the year, if you've got a good accountant, they will be checking everything you've done. So I know accountants that check everything you've done and charge you for it. So you think you're saving money by doing it yourself, but you're actually paying an accountant's rate to check it all. A bad accountant is actually not checking everything you've done. They're literally pulling the figures off zero, putting them into their piece of software, which probably takes an hour, and charging you £1,000 for it. So is that what you should be spending your time doing? Bearing in mind you're going to be paying the accountant to check it all at the end, or not, in which case you're completely responsible for everything you've put in your accounts, and you're not an accountant.
Yeah, okay.
Did you get that answer?
we missed that answer, yeah.
And I know Helen made the effort to go and find somewhere else to get a better internet connection. So were there any other questions for Helen that we didn't manage to finish answering?
Yeah, I'm in the office now, so you might get some background noise. I was in the meeting room.
I've got a question, Helen. Obviously, as a client of yours, how do I not get booted out?
You're fine.
I quite like what you do.
No, you're absolutely. Is Sarah all right? Is she safe, Lisa? She's safe. Oh, you've gone to Tom. No, basically, Sarah, it's people who ignore us for months, weeks, just no communication at all, you know, and we can't do anything. And then we can't do their VAT return because we've been asking for stuff for 3 months, and they leave it for 2 days. I can't be dealing with people like that. Don't worry, it's been really bad.
If we're
and I have to not like you as well.
If we're trying to help you and find you new clients and referrals and things, then I guess the question we need to be asking is, are you committed to your accounts? Are you interested in it? You know, do you keep to timescales and stuff?
I don't want manual people anymore, so they've got to be in the cloud. I'm only doing Xero and QuickBooks, so I don't want bags of receipts. But if people want to move from being manual into the cloud, that's fine. But yeah, otherwise, ideally, it's nice. I want people that work with us and collaborate, and we've got people to a lesser degree than there's some people I know and like really well, so I'll forgive them a bit, maybe. And there's other people, if I really don't like them, I might use it as an excuse to get rid of them. But you're safe, don't worry.
I'll keep
I won't work with people I don't like either.
Hi, Helen. Just how does it work in terms of face-to-face, online? Obviously, you've mentioned everything's in the cloud. Do you go out and see people? Is it all done over virtually, or how does the offering work?
Yeah, the initial, we always have an initial sit-down proposal meeting, which is ideally face-to-face, unless they're literally geographically too far away, and then it's Zoom. And we always have an annual face-to-face review as well. In between that, it's usually Zoom or email or phone. But if there was a new project or a big issue or any, specific thing, again, within geographical, with it being reasonable, I could do ad hoc meetings, but that's extra to the fixed fee. But included in the fixed fee is an annual face-to-face review. And
do you specialise in one particular package, i.e. Xero, QuickBooks?
Xero or QuickBooks, and we have got a couple on free agent, but I hate Sage and I'm not going there.
Okay, thank you.
And receipts have to come via apps. We don't have posted or bags dropped off and stuff like that. That's all via integrated apps.
Oh, I need an app for my receipts. Which ones are good?
Well, our auto entry we like.
Okay.
What are your accounts on Xero?
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks. Yeah, because auto entry, there's Dext, which used to be Receipt Bank. Auto entry is the one we like.
Yeah, I use Dex. Dex is so simple. You literally take a picture of your receipt and upload it into the system, and it's done so quick.
Yeah, same as auto entry, isn't it, Helen? That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they're lifesavers, aren't they? Real time savers. There.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, I think any final questions for Helen? You've even got 2 minutes for a dirty joke if you've got one up your sleeve, Helen.
I've always got dirty jokes.
Oh, no.